Part 3, Hero of Ages, still a struggle.
Tensions are rising. It's not that much of a struggle.
Still a struggle.
She doesn't know it's a struggle yet.
Alrighty, so welcome back everybody. Part 3, as indicated at the top, is what we will be discussing today. And I say it's a struggle. Kevin says it's not. We'll let this discussion be the judge of that, because I am having a hard time remembering stuff that's happened in Part 3, so...
It's only because of real life stuff.
Well, yes, we did actually finish reading this, probably about, I don't know, a week or so ago. But then life happened, as it always tends to do when you least expect it. And so we kind of had to deal with all that. And now we're finally getting around to this. And I'm just like, well, here we go. Let's see. Let's see if the old brain's got some cells left. And based on our previous conversation before turning on the camera, it's not looking too hopeful on my part. But anyways, so I'll let Kevin steer us into this one.
So one of the parts I would discuss is there's tensions in the army.
Yes.
From what happened when the mist inoculation happened.
Yes.
So some people fall down with like mist sickness. Some just die. Some pretty much have like a 24-hour turnaround, and then some were down for like weeks. Mm-hmm. So does it ring a bell?
Yeah. The ringing of the bell would be that apparently those who did not quickly recover are now being seen as suspicious. Like, maybe they are not true believers of the survivor.
Because it's been stated that Kelsier, has said, the mists are on our side.
Right.
So if the mist does something to you...
and you don't respond the right way, then the mist must not like you. And so there must be reason for it.
That must mean Kelsier doesn't like you.
Yes. But the thing is they're putting all this faith in the mist or in what Kelsier said. But only one person that we know of has actually, well, we don't know if it's for real, but has had a visit from Kelsier.
That takes us to the Survivor of the Flames.
The Survivor of the Flames. Through the fire and the flames we carry on. Anyways, Spook. Spook.
Well, I told you he was going to become more important in this book.
He has.
Mm-hmm.
I also said something, I don't know if it was the first part of this book, about him becoming something of importance. I'm like, I feel like this could be his book. I think that might have been something I said.
Yeah.
But anyways, and that also, with all this, I'm also wondering if he could be the hero of ages. So. Anyways, but yes, so the Survivor of the Flames, and why is he being dubbed such?
Well, he was supposed to be executed in one of the houses.
Which is when Kelsier came to visit him.
And then...
gave him the power to burn pewter.
And now he is... There's a part where he's obviously going against the citizen. Because he finds out where the next execution is going to be. Mm-hmm. Because someone had requested to save his sister. Like the guy requested Spook to save his sister.
Right.
So he finds out where it is and finds, like, trapdoors underneath. And
yeah, but Spook doesn't just save the sister out of the kindness of his heart. He ends up having these guys team up with him.
Count the skulls.
In order to count the skulls, which Dern had told him to do. Mm-hmm. And then I think, don't Spook and this group of guys, don't they, what's the word I'm looking for? Confront Dern, because Dern has been saying things about Spook.
Spook confronted him.
Okay, the guys weren't with him, though.
No, Spook was kind of on his own.
Okay, well anyways, but yeah, so he's got these guys helping him dig through the ashes of a previous burnout, and that's when he realizes...
The amount of skulls there doesn't match the amount of people executed.
So somebody's getting out.
It is executions, but it's also kind of a show.
Right. But anyway, so yeah, he goes in through trapdoors, back doors, and gets this girl out.
He almost messes himself up.
He does.
And then while all this is going on, he does manage to get out of the flames with the girl. Mm-hmm. Has a little bit of like a stare down with the citizen before running off. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Sazed, Breeze, and Alrain are outside with the crowd.
Watching, because that's what they do. Not these three particularly, but the crowds, they come together to watch.
And Alrain first was like not happy with what was going on.
Well, who the heck wants to watch something like that?
But
and I imagine the smell would be terrible.
Yeah. And then so she starts like rioting emotions, and then Breeze starts eliminating other emotions.
Yeah, so they're getting,
working the crowd.
Yeah, they're getting the crowd riled up to where they're about to freaking take out the citizen and all his guys. Mm-hmm. But then once Spook is out, which this is where they learn that Spook is the survivor of the flames.
Because Sazed was actually having a conversation about maybe the survivor of the flames would help us.
Yeah, so this
and
is
about that time Spook busts out a window and
they're like, oh, we've already teamed up with him apparently, and we didn't even know it. But anyway, so when Spook gets free, and I think probably because they realized who it was, Breeze and Alrain, they like dial back. So the crowd gets like right to that point where they're about to do something, and then they bring them back.
But there wasn't a massacre.
Right. So.
Because you gotta be careful with those kind of emotions.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with Spook and those members of the crew.
Mm-hmm. Which they also have a bit of a, this guy is following what Kelsier was saying, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like from the realistic part of it. And then we learned about hemalurgy.
Another form of magic. One that I'm just like...
Well, you use a spike to kill someone and take their essence in the spike. Depending on the type of metal, depends on what essence you take. And it has to be there to take. But then you put the spike in someone else or something else, and it acquires a slightly less version of that power. That's the basics. But it is what is used to create the Inquisitors, Kolos, and Kandra.
But different things come from it.
Well,
so like...
The Inquisitor originally had 8 different types of spikes in specific locations. That's another thing. Mm-hmm. On a human. Mm-hmm. That created the Inquisitor.
Yep, human base.
Kolos is also a human base, and I think it was 6 spikes? I don't remember exactly. It's been a minute.
Because in my head, they're blue blobby things.
Well, that's what they become.
Yeah.
But they also started off as human. Mm-hmm. And then the Outlier, or the Kandra, which started off as Mistwraiths, and they get 2 spikes, I believe.
Right, in which they get...
That gets their, what we would consider intelligence. Where they think more like us and have more
like
of
emotions and that's the Kandra. Mm-hmm. But the Kolos, they get some intelligence, right? But not
no.
Well, no, because
you could say
humans been kind of having conversation with Vin that you would need some intelligence for.
No, but since they started off as human, you would almost argue they lost some intelligence.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
But they have
I'm not saying
some.
I'm not saying they're morons per se. I'm saying like they're more primal.
Right. And then the Inquisitors, they don't lose intelligence, it seems like.
No. They are just more brutal.
So there must be, I guess, so you must have to do different things to get different ones, because if you take a human and you're like, all right, I want to turn you into something, what do you do to different? Okay, if I do this, are you going to turn into a Kolos, or are you going to turn into an Inquisitor?
Well, remember, like, in one of the parts that is in this part, is talking about the Lord Ruler. When he came up with those three is when he still had the power and the knowledge of the well.
Okay, yes.
And then he had 1,000 years of experimentation and couldn't come up with anything else.
Right.
Because it's very specific on locations and...
So the location of the placement of the spike indicates what you will become, as far as Inquisitor and Kolos go.
And Conjure.
But, I mean, Kandra are Miswraiths.
But it still makes a difference.
It makes a difference as to what they're going to get, because there was different things, like blessings of potency.
Well, that also has something to do with either... Well, I know, like, the type of metal of the spike, because the type of metal and everything in this series is
pretty important. Yeah.
And then what is actually captured with that spike.
Okay. Okay.
You don't need to know everything to know...
I was just wondering.
Yeah. But I'm just trying to make it...
Right, so yeah.
Because you can get really in-depth with all the magic in this series, but it's not necessary. You can just read it and go along and go, okay.
But see, that's my problem. I'm always looking... I look into things that I probably shouldn't spend so much time looking into, and then the things that I need to, like, pay attention to, I'm just like, hey, okay, we'll move along. You know, so... Anyways, so that's that. That's the third magic system. Okay,
and then... So, another thing is we find out that Luthadel is basically kind of in riot mode.
They're in a siege.
So...
Marsh is there.
Well, Marsh is there.
And not in a good way.
Well, Marsh is still under the control of Ruin.
Mm-hmm.
And he shoves a spike in... Penrod's heart. So they can't pull it or he'd die.
Yeah, so now, essentially, if I understand it, Ruin can manipulate Penrod.
Now, I'm going to ask.
Okay.
Reflect.
Oh, boy.
Where have we heard of a spike in someone's chest before?
Yes. Zane.
And remember, he wasn't
not crazy. Ruin.
Oh.
Ruin's the voice in Zane's head.
Mm-hmm.
I probably thought that when I was reading it, but like I said, it's been a couple weeks. So.
Well, just a little guidance.
Yeah. Well, okay. So now okay. So, yeah, he can manipulate him.
So, like, the situation that it seems a messenger showed up at the camp with Elend and Ven.
Mm-hmm.
And the messenger was saying, we're asking for supplies. And then Ellen's like, we sent a missive to you to ask for you for supplies.
Ain't nobody
What is Penrod doing?
Ain't nobody getting supplies. Ash is falling all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So... And what city are we in? We're in Set City, but I can't remember the name of it. But it's under the control of Yedden. And so there's another ball.
The second ball, yep.
The second ball. And this is when...
There's deception on top of deception.
Yeah, so this is when they go in, and the goal is for Vin to find the storage shed, cache, whatever you want to call it. So nobody's getting supplies. Ash is falling all over the place. And we think she finds it. Because while she's looking for it and being followed by these two women or whatever, she
does not
plots and plans and gets rid of them. She temporarily gets rid of them because she don't kill them.
Knocks them out.
She just throws them in the bushes or something. But meanwhile, Ellen is up in the ballroom, and him and what's the guy's name? Yedden. Yemen. Isn't that a country? I don't know. Whatever. The guy who's in charge, who took Set's place.
They have a philosophical discussion.
Yes, they're yes, waxing philosophically, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. I bet Ellen was probably like, I wish I didn't hate you so much, or I wish we didn't have this between us because this could be great. But anyway, so this is part of the distraction. So she's off doing her thing, and he's up here doing this thing. Well, hello. Here's a door that she stumbles across. It's partially open, and I'm just like, this.
And it seems damaged.
I'm like,
like they had to really work to open it.
This is a little too convenient. Maybe you shouldn't go in there.
Now, Sarah, I have to ask, what logic would that make in a story?
I mean, sometimes these Mistborn, they have all these skills, but I think at the price of common sense. Because it's like, this door's open. Somebody had to fight to get it open. And I'm just going to go in there? No.
She was convinced Set was a Mistborn. And then just walks in this door.
Yeah. Well, she was also convinced that... I'm going to say the wrong name. What's his name? The Y name? Yeoman. Yedin? I don't know.
Yedin.
The guy who's waxing philosophically with Elend. She's convinced he has a Mistborn too. So, why are you going to just go into some place you don't know what lies behind the door? Anyways.
She gets trapped.
Long story short, she gets trapped. She's trapped. The door closes. Whoever opened it up managed to pry off all the metal on the inside, so it's not like she can pull on the metal to open up the door.
And it's not a smooth door, so...
No, it's probably like a stone door.
No, I mean as far as how it moves.
Oh, yeah. Well, and she's also on I think it's an elevated...
So it's weighted in.
Yes, and she can't get enough... Whatever. The way I picture it is the door's up here and the floor is at an angle, and so she would be trying to go. Yeah, that's how I picture it. But anyways, so she's in there. She's like, well, hell's bells. I done got trapped. And
she's so in her mind, she doesn't really
She doesn't realize there's someone in there with her.
And then, lo and behold.
Oh my gosh. I wish I would have just stuck with my original prediction, which was way back in the first book, and I said that I thought this person was going to come back, Reen, and then later on, it was told he was dead. Well, he's hanging out in this here trapdoor cave situation. Damn it, I gave in.
So there's something going on there.
Yeah, so anyways, it turns out Mr. Philosophy, he knew that Elend and Vin were there to trick him and find this stuff, so he flipped the script and he did the trickery.
And then also, it wasn't specified that he is a Mistborn, but him and Elend had a little tussle.
Yeah.
And he wasn't like he was fast, but he was predicting Elend. Mm-hmm. And then...
But, wait a minute. Doesn't he have an adium bead or whatever hanging? Yes. So maybe that would be how he would be predicting, right? Because that's what that metal does.
I cannot confirm nor deny.
But isn't that what...
Yes.
It does? Mm-hmm. It allows you to see...
The only thing I can say is Elend burned Electrum, I believe. The poor man's adium solution. Mm-hmm. And Yedin kind of stumbled, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's another thing too, though. The adium, it's a metal, and if I'm picturing correctly, it was kind of on his forehead.
A bead was.
A bead, but was it embedded in his skin?
He wasn't burning that bead.
Oh, okay. Well, then why didn't Ellen just steal that bead too, by the way? Because they need this stuff. Why didn't he just rip it off his head? Because doesn't it have to be embedded in order to not be accessed?
Yes.
So why didn't he just take it?
I don't know.
Anyways.
I didn't even think of that.
See? There I go. Looking at something I probably shouldn't even be thinking about. But anyways, so... Yeah. Okay, I said it was a struggle, but it was definitely not as a struggle. Not as much a struggle as part 2 was. So I'm hoping.
Oh, it's ramping.
I'm hoping.
It's ramping.
Okay.
A lot has to happen.
I know, because maybe a little before the halfway mark. Not quite sure. Might even be at the halfway. You think we're after? Oh yeah, we are after. I had the book the wrong way. Well, you know. So, anyways. Yeah. So.
I think that covers most of the major stuff.
I think so. For the moment.
Oh, they took out a lot of the Kolos. Yeden's group.
Yes.
So the forces are more equal now.
Yeah.
As far as like brute force.
Mm-hmm.
Because they kind of sneak attacked and then took out the Kolos because they were within range of their weapons.
Yeah.
Other than that, the world's kind of just falling apart.
Mm-hmm. Hell in a handbasket.
So I guess now we just gotta read further.
Yep. And that is what we intend to do next Wednesday. Part 4. We hope you join us. See ya.